In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form W-10, which is the Dependent Care Provider's Identification and Certification Form. So this is a tax form that most individual taxpayers will not be completing a whole lot of. As you can see from the screen, this is a pretty straightforward form. However, it is important for taxpayers who are looking to claim either the child and dependent care tax credit on IRS Form 2441, child and dependent care expenses, or if you're reporting benefits that you are receiving under your employer's dependent care plan. So in that case, you need to have Form W-10, but if you can't get it, then there are some other things that can satisfy the requirements. So the reason you need to have this form, or the IRS expects you to have this form, is because of the high propensity for fraud. When you file IRS Form 2441, you're reporting to the IRS certain information about your care provider. And this form, this W-10, allows the IRS to independently match that up so that if a properly filed or if a properly documented Form W-10 is audited with your income tax return, then that information makes sense to the IRS. Whereas a lot of taxpayers have been shown in the past to just write down any information simply to get the tax credit. So if you can't find, or if your care provider won't give you a copy of the W-10, then there are other documents you may be able to get that will fulfill the IRS's due diligence requirements. So copy of the Social Security card from the provider, letterhead or a printed invoice, or a copy of a statement if you're under an employer's dependent care plan. But all of these documents, as long as they have the name, the address, and the taxpayer identification number for that person. So it could be a person, in which case the taxpayer identification number would be either a Social Security number, or for a resident alien or a non-resident who doesn't have a Social Security number, it might be an individual taxpayer ID number. If it's a corporate entity, like a lot of daycare centers might be, then it could be an employer identification number. So there are a couple of other nuanced situations we'll cover momentarily, but let me walk you through just so that you can kind of see how straightforward this form should be. So some care providers might give you a blank form, and then you're supposed to complete part 2 with your information. So let's see. So for an individual taxpayer, that's pretty much all the information you need to put down. And again, you're only doing this so that if you give this to a care provider and they've got several dozens of these forms or hundreds of these forms, they know which taxpayers are expecting this. And then the part 1 is the information that they're expected to provide, which should match up with the records in your tax return, on your IRS Form 2441, and hopefully with the IRS files. So when all of those match, then you should be satisfied that you would pass an audit. You shouldn't even really get audited for this if everything matches. So So pretty straightforward. Name of the dependent care provider, their address, taxpayer identification number, as well as their sworn signature. Now, they sign this under penalty of perjury, so you'll want to make sure that the signature is by someone authorized to give care. If it's an individual as opposed to a company, then if they're using a social security number, you would expect to see that checked. If that's not checked, then that means that this is either an employer identification number or which would look something like this. That's what an employer identification looks like. Or if it's an individual taxpayer ID number, that could be in there as well. So you would want to make sure that the name, all of the information is accurate based on your records or your invoices, and then also that it's actually properly signed and dated. So there are some care providers who might not complete this form the way you're expecting. Probably the most common one would be in a tax exempt organization. So for example, like if there's a care service provided by a church or some other nonprofit organization, then they technically don't have to provide a taxpayer ID number on the form. Rather, they would write tax exempt under the taxpayer identification number. So, and to be honest, you can see right here in the form instructions. So again, because of the tax credit on IRS Form 2441, the IRS has taken a closer look to make sure all the information matches, so you should too. Your invoices, what you're putting on your Form 1040, your tax return, they should all match up with your Form W-10. And this is your opportunity to do that, to make sure that all the information matches up. As long as you're able to do that, then you should not have to worry about taking the child independent care tax credit. That's all we have for this video. It's fairly straightforward. We've written an article so you can kind of walk through this at your own time and get a better understanding for some of the nuances of this tax form. If you want to read that article, simply go to our website, teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form W-10 in the search bar, and you should see our article. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.